This was supposed to be a simple raid, but the moment he stepped inside, he walked into a plan not made for him, a war not meant for our world. He wasn't chosen, he stayed to protect, and in dying, he changed everything. He didn't become what they wanted, he became what they never saw coming. This isn't just about strength, it's about how sacrifice rewrote the system. Sung Jinwoo never wanted to be a hero. He never wanted power. He wanted stability. He wanted security. He wanted a life where his mother wasn't dying in a hospital bed and his sister wasn't forced to rely on him just to get through school. His father had vanished years ago. His mother had fallen into the eternal sleep after his awakening as a hunter. With no one else to take care of his younger sister, Jinwoo took on the burden alone. Day after day, he entered dungeons that were far too dangerous just to scrape together enough money to keep his family alive. And then he died. The double dungeon should have been the end of his story. He was weak, and the weak don't survive in a world like this. But instead of death, he was given an offer, an impossible, reality-breaking offer: courage of the weak. He had been chosen. The system had selected him. He had been reborn. Jinwoo's journey follows these exact steps. His death in the double dungeon wasn't just an ending, it was the first stage of alchemical purification, what the alchemists called the Nigredo, or the blackening. In this stage, all that is impure, weak, or unworthy must be destroyed. The self is broken down, stripped of all illusion, left to rot in the dark. This is the stage where the hero is reduced to nothing. And that's exactly what happened to Jinwoo. His first awakening as a hunter left him powerless, insignificant, incapable of changing his fate. But in the double dungeon, when he chose to sacrifice himself, when he embraced death rather than run, he underwent his first true alchemical dissolution. And then, from the darkness, he was given the choice to rise again. This is the second stage of alchemy, the albedo, or the whitening. After destruction comes purification, a rebirth into something new. He was no longer bound by the same rules. He was chosen. He had become the player. But in alchemy, purification is never the final step. The albedo is only a preparation for something greater. The rubedo, or the reddening, this is the stage where the purified soul undergoes transformation into its highest, divine form. The moment where lead finally becomes gold. And this is where the true test of the hero begins. Because the question is, will Jinwoo's rebirth truly set him free? Or is he merely being shaped into something else, reforged not by his own will, but by an unseen hand? At first, power seemed like salvation. Jinwoo could finally stand on his own. He wasn't weak, not anymore. He wasn't a burden to his fellow hunters. He could protect. He could fight. He could claim the life he had always been denied. But power has a price, and no hero walks away from a battle unchanged. The stronger he became, the easier it was to kill. The monsters in dungeons begged for mercy, and he slaughtered them without hesitation. Humans who stood in his way, those who might have had families, ambitions, and dreams, fell before his shadows, just another obstacle to be cleared. In Gnostic texts, power is often the greatest deception. The demiurge, the ruler of the material world, gives his chosen warriors strength, not as a gift, but as a means of control. Strength becomes a chain, ensuring that the hero continues fighting, never questioning, never stopping to ask, was this ever my choice? This is the fundamental difference between divine enlightenment and false power. The demiurge, often depicted in Gnostic traditions as the blind, arrogant creator who falsely believes himself to be God, does not give power to liberate. He gives power to bind. He is the architect of a prison, and those within it, no matter how mighty, are still prisoners. The greater the power given, the tighter the chains become. This is why, in Gnostic philosophy, the warrior archetype is often a tragic figure. Warriors are rewarded for their strength, but that strength ensures that they never stop fighting. They are tools of the system, locked in an endless cycle of battle, unaware that the true path to liberation lies not in conquest, but in knowledge. And this is precisely what we see in solo leveling. The system did not offer Jinwoo a path to peace. It offered him a path to war. Every quest, every dungeon, every level up only leads to more battles, more killing, more conflict. The stronger he becomes, the more enemies he must face. The system doesn't allow rest. It doesn't allow questions. It only demands more strength. This mirrors the concept of the Archons, the servants of the Demiurge in Gnostic tradition, who manipulate the physical world to keep souls trapped within it. They do this by keeping humanity distracted, engaged, constantly striving for material gains, rather than seeking enlightenment. Think about it. Jinwoo is constantly focused on survival, on strength, on fighting his next battle. But when does he ever have time to stop and wonder, why am I being given these powers? Who benefits from my growth? Why does the system push me towards conflict instead of allowing me to break free? These are the very questions the Gnostic seeker must accept and must ask to escape the illusion of the Demiurge's control. But Jinwoo does not yet see this. Like all warriors of the Demiurge, he is kept moving, kept fighting, kept distracted. And as long as he is chasing strength, he is not questioning the source of that strength. This is how power becomes the ultimate deception. Because if a prisoner is ever given a golden cage, will he ever try to escape? If he is told he is a king, will he ever look for his chains? And if Jinwoo is called the strongest, will he ever realize that he is still a pawn? And then Jinwoo saved his mother. For the first time, all his battles, all his suffering, all of the choices he made, the ones that could never be undone, had led to something undeniably good. His mother, who had been trapped in the eternal sleep since his first awakening, was awake, alive, whole. And yet, this moment, this ultimate victory, only raises deeper questions. In esoteric traditions, the act of saving another is often symbolic of saving oneself. The mother figure in alchemy and mythology is tied to the Great Mother, the divine feminine, the source of life and wisdom. In Jungian psychology, she represents the unconscious mind, the hidden aspect of the self that holds truth and intuition. Saving the mother, then, is more than just a physical act. It is a spiritual milestone, a sign that the hero has reached a new level of understanding, a greater connection to the deeper forces of existence. But here is where Jinwoo's journey becomes even more interesting. Because this wasn't supposed to be possible. The elixir of life, the very thing that healed his mother, was hidden in a place where no one else could access it. It was not something ordinary hunters could ever find. The knowledge of its existence was something he never would have had the system not guided him to it. And so the question becomes, did he save his mother? Or was this the path the system had always intended for him? In Gnostic thought, salvation is never something that comes from within the system. It is something that requires breaking free of it. But Jinwoo did not escape the system to save his mother. He used the system's power, followed its path, completed its quests, and was ultimately rewarded for it. He did not challenge the design of his reality. He fulfilled it. This is why, despite this moment of pure, unfiltered emotion, despite this moment where Jinwoo, for the first time in years, feels something beyond battle, beyond survival, he still cannot shake the feeling, though, that something is wrong. And this is where his existential crisis begins. When Jinwoo first awakened as the player, he had no idea that his journey would lead him to the elixir of life. He never would have even known it existed without the system guiding him towards it. But in alchemical and esoteric traditions, the elixir of life has always been a symbol of ultimate transformation. The Philosopher's Stone, the water of the wise, the secret to immortality, whatever names it takes, it is the completion of the alchemist's great work. It represents a return to wholeness, a cure for the corruption of the material world. And, in solo leveling, it quite literally becomes the key to restoring Jinwoo's mother, bringing her back from her eternal slumber. And in that moment, when she wakes up, when she looks at him and recognizes for the first time in years that that is her little boy, Jinwoo finally breaks. Throughout his journey, he has been cold, calculating, detached. He has fought, killed, endured endless pain, but never once felt it. But when his mother wakes up, he kneels beside her bed and he weeps. This is a fundamental turning point because for the first time we see that Jinwoo hasn't been fighting for strength. He hasn't been fighting for revenge. He hasn't even been fighting for power. He has been fighting for her. And yet, even now, something doesn't feel right. After saving his mother, there's a moment of peace. He goes home. He spends time with his family. He does something he hasn't done in years. He cleans the house with them. Side by side, his family. He's a normal person. But something's wrong. Something in his mind won't let him rest because now that he has achieved what he has set out to do, there is no reason for him to continue fighting. No reason for him to keep killing. And yet, he still feels something is pulling him forward. This is the classic existential crisis of the warrior. Achilles before Hector, Arjuna before battle, Hercules after his labors. The realization that once you have crossed certain lines, you can never go back. Jinwoo stands at the sink washing dishes, listening to his mother and his sister talk, and all he can think about is the blood on his hands. And so he asks himself, can someone like me ever return to the life that they've once had? Can someone who has done what I've done ever be whole again? And that question, more than any other, is the true burden of the hero. Now, Jinwoo stands at a crossroads. His mother is safe, his sister is secure. He no longer needs to fight, and yet he feels as if he cannot stop because the system isn't done with him yet. In Gnostic tradition, the final test is not strength, it is knowledge. The ability to see beyond the illusion, to break free from the prison of fate, to gain gnosis. But Jinwoo is still inside that prison, still following the system's path. And as long as he walks this road, he is still playing by someone else's rules. The more power he gains, the more he begins to realize power is not the same as freedom. Strength alone does not break chains. It only reforges them into a different shape. And then he begins to see the signs. Something is coming. The demons have been moving in secret, gathering power. The demons are not just random gates. They are front lines in a war that is already unfolding. A war no one else even knows exists. And then the question lingers in his mind. If I walk away, what happens next? He has gained the strength to crush armies. But if that strength is just another form of control, then what does it mean to use it? If he continues down this road, does he become the liberator of hunters, of the people? Or does he become their unseen ruler? And then the Jeju Island raid is announced. Jeju Island was supposed to be humanity's redemption. The strongest hunters in South Korea and Japan, some of the most powerful S-rank warriors in the world, gathered for this one mission: to reclaim the island, to erase the shame of their past failures, and to prove that they were still the dominant force on the battlefield. But for Sung Jinwoo, this wasn't just another raid. He knew what no one else did. The demons had been preparing. The monsters were evolving. The forces behind the dungeons weren't just throwing random threats at humanity. This was all leading towards something, and no one else could see it. For the hunters, though, this battle was a simple equation. They had trained for this. They had the numbers, the coordination, the experience. Their strategy was airtight, their movements precise. And for a while, everything went according to plan. The ants were being slaughtered. The raid was going flawlessly. The hunters moved in formation, cutting through their enemies with overwhelming force. By all logic, they should have won. But that's the thing about plans. They only work if reality plays along. And reality doesn't care about your expectations. While the main raid was tearing through the battlefield above, the real battle was taking place underground. Cha Hayin and the Hunters Guild had pushed deep into the heart of the nest, carving a path towards their true target. And the Ant Queen, well, she was the foundation of the swarm, the intelligence behind the chaos. If they killed her, the war would end in an instant. It was obvious the solution, the most logical strategy: kill the Ant Queen. And so they did it. They brought her down, and for a moment it seemed like the battle was over. But instead of victory, they set something else into motion. Because the Queen's death wasn't just the loss of a leader, it was the opening of a door. Her dying scream wasn't a cry of pain, it was a summons. And the one who answered was Beru. Now, if the Ant Queen was the mother of the swarm, then Beru was its god of war. But this isn't just about power. This is alchemy in motion. In esoteric traditions, true transformation begins with destruction. The death of the queen isn't an ending, it's purification. The Nigredo phase of alchemy, the blackening, where all falsehood is burned away. And from that destruction, something new emerges. Beru. But Beru isn't just another monster. He isn't just an evolution of the swarm. He is something else entirely. He doesn't just fight, he calculates. He doesn't just attack like a beast driven by hunger. He moves like something that understands the concept of war. And the moment he enters the battlefield, everything changes. This is what separates raw strength from true sovereignty. The hunters, for all their power, still believe that force alone determines victory. But Beru, he's already operating on a different level. He isn't just slaughtering his enemies, he's learning from them. And then something shifts. The hunters should already be dead. And yet, they keep getting back up. Beru, for the first time, hesitates. He scans the battlefield, looking for the true cause. And that's when he sees it. Min Byung-gu. Min Byung-gu doesn't wield a sword or throw himself into the front lines, but he is the foundation of the hunter's survival. As long as he stands, the others cannot fall. And Beru recognizes this immediately, because this is not just a fight, it's initiation. So he makes his next move. He doesn't just kill Min Byung-gu, he consumes him. And here is where the transformation is completed. This is the albedo stage of alchemy, the whitening, where the purified substance takes in wisdom, knowledge, and clarity. Because Beru didn't just devour flesh, he devoured understanding. And in that moment, Beru changed. He had inherited healing, but more than that, he had inherited memory. And this is crucial because in esoteric traditions, the consumption of another's essence is not about strength. It's about becoming something greater. It's an evolution of mind, not just body. And for the first time, Beru understands something deeper than instinct. The queen was never a king. He had served her blindly, never questioning whether her rule was legitimate. But now he sees the gap between those who rule by nature and those who are merely given authority. And this is where Beru becomes something more than a monster. He becomes a seeker. Because now he's looking for a king. And here is where the illusion of power is shattered. Goto Ryuji, the strongest hunter from Japan, steps forward. This is the moment he's been waiting for. He believes in the system of strength. He believes that rank determines supremacy. He believes that because he is called strong, he is strong. But the universe does not care about names. And just like that, he is gone. Not after an epic fight. Not after a battle between equals. He's just erased, killed, in an instant. And then, for the first time, Beru speaks. Well, maybe not the first time. He says it a few times, but you understand what I'm saying. He says, "Where's the king?" Not a leader, not a warrior, a king. Because now, Beru understands the truth. Kings do not chase power, they already hold it. This is the final step. Rubedo, the reddening, the completion of the great work. Beru has consumed, purified, and now he is seeking the one who holds the ultimate authority. But there's one final revelation, because Jinwoo has still not revealed himself. And this is the ultimate test of sovereignty. In Gnostic traditions, the liberator does not fight. He does not lower himself into the illusions of battle. He moves unseen, beyond the reach of those who would try to define him. Jinwoo does not need to be present to change the outcome of battles. His will has already shaped it. The shadows rise. The army of the dead answers the call. And the battlefield, which had belonged to the ants, now belongs to something else entirely. Because there is a difference between a warrior and a king. Between a ruler and a sovereign. Between power and enlightenment. And only one of them is truly free. Jinwoo's decision to let the hunters face Beru without him wasn't about arrogance. It wasn't about proving a point. It was about a calculation. He had believed that they could win. If the plan held, of course. If the enemy reacted as expected. If the conditions remained stable. But he knew better than to trust ifs. This was something the other hunters had never even understood. To them, power was a simple question. Strength equals victory. You train, you grow stronger. And you dominate the battlefield. But Jinwoo had seen too much to believe in this illusion. Because the true battlefield is alive, it shifts, it evolves, and it does not care about human preparation. War does not follow a script, and only those who see beyond their own strength, only those who understand the patterns behind the chaos can survive it. The hunters had thought this raid was just another mission. They were S rank. They were elite. They had power, and power was supposed to be enough, but power means nothing without vision. And Jinwoo was the only one who saw the war that was coming. That's why he let them fight. Not as a test, not as a lesson, but because he had already accounted for their survival. When they walked onto Jeju Island, they believed they were in control. When they left, they understood the truth. They were never kings. They were just survivors. Jinwoo had never stepped onto the battlefield himself, but his shadows were everywhere. He had placed his soldiers beneath the hunters before the battle had even begun. He had ensured that when the chaos erupted, when their perfect plan crumbled into dust, there was still something left to protect them. Because that is the burden of knowledge. To let others fight their own battles while carrying the weight of knowing when to step in. This is where the true cost of wisdom is revealed. In the Gnostic tradition, power is always a deception. The material world offers strength, wealth, and dominion, but it never offers liberation. And this is why the true hero, the seeker, the one who sees beyond the illusions, must make a choice. Do you continue to play the game? Do you allow the illusions to persist because it is useful? Or do you step beyond it, tear it down, and risk losing everything? Sung Jinwoo is not blind to his own role. He knows he is the last safeguard, the hidden hand in a war the others cannot yet see. He has already begun piecing it together. The dungeons are not random. The demons have not just been appearing. This is all part of a greater conflict. One that humanity has been unknowingly pulled into. And he is the only one who understands the scale of what is to come. But knowing is not the same as escaping. In Gnostic and Alchemical traditions, the true hero does not simply wield power. He understands when not to wield it. But what happens when the only one who sees the war ahead is also the only one who can fight it? Because this is where the prison of strength begins to take shape. Jinwoo has spent his entire journey learning the difference between power and sovereignty. He has fought, killed, and risen beyond human limitation. But here's the paradox. The stronger he becomes, the harder it is to step away. And this is the ultimate deception of power. Because if no one else can stand against what's coming, does that mean he must? If there's no one else strong enough to break the cycle, then is he a liberator? Or has he simply become the system's most powerful piece? The battle for Jeju Island is over, but the real war is just beginning. For those watching this after the anime is caught up, you already know that Jeju Island wasn't the end, because Jinwoo did not stay in the shadows forever. At some point, the time for watching ended. The time for observation, for testing, for waiting, it all had to give way to a true confrontation. And when it did, Jinwoo and Beru finally stood face to face. This was not just another battle. It was not a test of strength alone. It was the final step in Jinwoo's transformation. Throughout history, there has always been a final ordeal. The great battle, the war to end all wars. The moment where the seeker must face the force that defines their very existence. In alchemical and esoteric traditions, this is the moment where the purified soul meets its opposite, the force that either destroys it or proves its sovereignty. Beru was not just an enemy, he was a challenge from the universe itself, from the system itself. A final test, a confrontation between one who had begun to understand kingship and the one who was destined to become king. Jinwoo did not win because he was stronger, even though that's kind of the way it looks. He won because he was beyond the battle itself, because Beru, despite all his power, still followed a system. He still bowed. He still waited for a ruler. And Sung Jinwoo, he had already ascended beyond the need to prove himself. This is the Rubedo, the final stage, the completion of the great work, the magnum opus. Jinwoo was no longer just a warrior, no longer just a hunter. He was sovereign. This is the difference between power and dominion, between a ruler and a king, between a player in the system and the one who rewrites the system itself. Sung Jinwoo has reached the edge of something far greater than himself. He has seen what no one else has, the signs of a coming war. He has glimpsed the forces moving behind the system, shifting like unseen hands in the dark. He understands that the battles fought so far were not only the beginning. And yet he is alone in this knowledge. If power is just another form of control, then does it matter who wields it? If strength is not enough to break the cycle, then what does it take to truly become free? And this is the final question. The one that separates kings from prisoners, rulers from liberators. Does Sung Jinwoo truly walk his own path? Or is he merely the most powerful piece in someone else's game? But this isn't just Jinwoo's story. It's a story about all of us. About how we struggle to break free from the forces that shape us. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like you were playing someone else's game? Like your choices were never truly your own? So now I ask you again, another question. When Jinwoo looks into the abyss, does he see his own reflection? Or the chains that have bound him all along? Has he become the ruler of a game or its final, most powerful piece? If you want more deep dives into anime, mythology, esoteric philosophy, and stories of all kinds, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Because this is only the beginning. The war in solo leveling has yet to begin, and the truth behind the system is still waiting to be revealed. I truly appreciate you. Thank you for listening and watching Magus in the Media.